Tuesday didn't go as you wanted. So what were the problems there? What do you guys got to do better tomorrow night to have a better result?
Yeah, our defensive rebounding wasn't good enough in that game, and then just our defense in general in the second half. I mean, they shot 66%. You're not winning games allowing that type of efficiency, by an opponent. So those are the two things that we've been doing a pretty good job with those two areas, but we didn't in that second half especially.
So what kind of pressure does Kansas State put on you in those two particular spots?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is Hawkins as kind of a point forward type. They're going to utilize him in pick and pops, and then they play a lot with him posting kind of that mid range, 15, 17 feet, and then they force you to make decisions if you want to double or how you're going to try to keep him from getting to his spot. So, and he's such a willing passer, it makes things a little challenging.
Johnny Antonio.
Hey, Coach, when you're dealing with size, is it as a matter simply of movement, getting the bigs moving around? Is that how you can get more offense? Is it as simple as that, or is there more to it than just that?
There's some of it. It's getting them moving around. It's also what are the guys that we have on that side of it? What are they good at? And what how can they be successful in the offensive side of things? So that's the part that we're continuing to try to figure out new ways to get better opportunities for different guys.
One more thing on those two bigs, can you rim run them, or are they pretty good up and down the floor?
Now you can get some transition. And transition is going to be important for us, as it always is. Just finding ways to get some easy ones in space and a broken floor.
Thank you.
Questions? Use the raised hand feature. Greg?
So I'm sure you get tired of the same questions, but you got to keep asking them. So anything new on Tucker? And then I haven't even seen Jaden in the last couple games. So any status update on him?
No, nothing new on either one.
Abby?
Coach, you guys have had quite a few wins over top-ranked teams this season. I know you guys are in the rankings, but what do you think has been the biggest factor to some of those quote-unquote upsets?
I think our guys have played incredibly hard in those wins. I think they played together, and that's been our formula for most of the year. And when we've been able to do that, we've had some success. And some of the nights where we don't quite have that, it's been a little bit more of a challenge for us.
Cody?
Yeah, hey Darren. I'm just, obviously Kansas State's not having the year they were hoping for. They're in a bad losing streak. When I look at their numbers, there's no red flags like, oh, they're terrible at this. So just what's leading to all their problems recently?
Yeah, I think when you look at them, especially in Big 12 play outside of the Houston game, like their games have come right down to the wire. They've been right there, led at Kansas, at Texas Tech at home, at Baylor down double digits on the road, beat Cincinnati at home. So they're right there. They just haven't had the wins to show for it. But I think they're a really talented team, and they as we said, present a lot of problems for you.
Justin?
Hey, Coach. With Hawkins, obviously he played at Illinois last year. You got two kids from Illinois and an assistant coach. How do you scout him? Do you maybe get more of a detailed report because of those situations than you maybe would have normally in a regular situation?
Yeah, I know those guys know him well. They know all each other well, so they're getting the same scouting report on our guys. So,
sure.
But certainly got a good feel for what he likes and the type of player he is, and where it's likes to get his shots from and those type of things.
He's had monster games, and then games where 7-8 points, and just not. So, I mean, what do you like when he's good? What makes him good, and when he's off, what's kind of been the struggle there?
I think what makes him good is just his versatility, because he can shoot it and he can shoot it from deep. And then his ability to go post. So, kind of like us with the pick and pop five, they use him more as a four, but still put you in some tough spots of if you're going to switch it, he's going to take you down the post with a little guard. And now you've got to come bring some help most of the time. And he's such a willing passer that now it makes those guys on the backside, really efficient from a just catch and shoot standpoint. So I think overall it's just his versatility to shoot and post and pass, and that's what makes him so difficult to stop. The games he hasn't, been as productive, I can't say for sure, one way or the other. I think it's like a lot of times you're just missing shots and doesn't get those numbers up there the way he normally does. But in Big 12 play, he's their leading scorer. I think almost 13 points a game. So and leader in assists as well. So that gives you a little idea of how important he is to him.
Thank you, Coach.
Mike?
Hey, Darren, how's it going?
Good.
When you are watching games or maybe even scouting teams, I have no idea, but maybe now more than ever, can you tell that a team has played together, that there's chemistry, and then maybe there is still a getting to know you phase among coaches and players, or players and players?
Yeah, I mean, I think that can be very evident, especially early in the year. You see a lot of teams with whole new rosters and things, and it just takes a while for some teams to gel. And I thought Kansas State had a lot of new players and guys in different roles, but as the season's gone on, you can see that they've started to figure out how to play through one another and how they all those pieces all fit together. And you see that in other teams across the country as well. And like I said, that's we're still figuring some things out as our roster with injuries and stuff like that is we've had to continue to try to find new ways to do things at both ends of the floor.
When you do put together scouting reports, I don't know, you go back 4 or 5 games, but it just seems like basically what you're explaining and just what you watch, that there's a danger in assuming that a team is going to be who they are X amount of games down the road. Like it could change. Maybe it just happens one day, like all of a sudden the switch gets flipped there. Does it just change the way you evaluate teams or what your expectations are from a scouting or preparation standpoint?
No, that is the challenge sometimes. It's like, game to game, week to week, teams change. They continue to, coaches, players, they continue to try to evolve and become more efficient at both ends of the floor. And sometimes, it might be something you do for a couple of days in practice that just clicks. And now you have it and you feel like you got something. So, but we, from a scouting standpoint, we go pretty far back. I mean, and then even looking at, last year's numbers of kids, like what did they shoot last year? This year, hey, they're not shooting a high percentage, but last year they were a 40% shooter. So, treat them with that type of respect to make sure that, you're not making a mistake there because they're in a little bit of a shooting slump for whatever reason.
And then you've been really complimentary of the way your team has come together for just personality purposes, character purposes, but the basketball sense. I know you can't project in other teams, but what has worked for you all on the floor, games or practices where so many new parts have produced a very successful season so far?
Yeah, we have a great group of guys. I mean, the locker room's easy. They're all willing learners. They're all work hard. They're great teammates for one another. So I think when you watch us play, even the nights that we're doing well, and even the nights that it's a struggle, like our group is pretty connected. For the most part, they're giving everything they got to help us win collectively as a unit, and that's part of the reason we've had some success.
Thanks,
Ryan?
It seems like it's on the defensive end where K-State has struggled. I think more so this year, like especially teams are shooting a really high percentage against K-State, both overall on the floor and then from 3-point range. Is that maybe a byproduct of what you were talking about, teams just building chemistry on the floor with one another throughout the year, and Kansas State just hasn't had that chemistry throughout the season so far, or is there something you see schematically that K-State just on the defensive side doesn't do a very good job closing out maybe?
I don't think necessarily they're doing anything wrong at all. I think they're as a defense that they're figuring some stuff out. Like I said, a lot of those games are incredibly close games in Big 12 play, especially. So, like all teams, they have strengths and weaknesses, just like we have strengths and weaknesses, and they're figuring some of those things out as well.
Back to John.
Ask you, I know Sincere was dealing with a little bit, and I know you've had kind of the virus going through your team. Have you passed that? Have you cycled through that yet?
I think so, or at least
Yeah.
I'm hoping so. But everybody was pretty good yesterday, so that was good news.
And one other one, they're big at number one. He's shooting 65%, almost 65% from the floor. Is that close? Is he getting everything they want close to the basket with him?
He gets a lot of it, pretty close to the rim. I mean, he can do some other things. He's pretty versatile. He can put it on the deck and go make plays. So he'll face you up from 12, 15 and go make a play. Now he ends up, fairly close to the rim, but he's had a really good year for him. Very efficient.
And back to Justin.
Coach, a couple weeks ago, you were talking about how you wanted to take Javon off the ball at different points and to try to, just create some different options. And obviously KJ got hurt and that kind of maybe threw a monkey wrench in there. With KJ back now, are you still kind of maybe toying with that idea of taking Javon off the ball? Because obviously these teams are just going after Javon, and I'm sure you want to counter that somehow. Can you just kind of take me? I know you can't talk strategy a whole lot, but can you just kind of take me through that process of what you can do differently with Javon, in these remaining games? Because I imagine a lot of teams aren't going to change their strategy on how they defend him.
Yeah. And we did some in the Arizona State game, had KJ in there, more minutes as he's come back from his injury. So like, as you mentioned, there's, a couple games in there where we weren't able to do that because he was out, but, we're not going to do a heavy dose of Javon off the ball, but, when KJ's in and Javon's in, some of KJ's minutes are to rest Javon to get him, off the floor. And then the other half is when he's in there, it's exactly that, Justin, to get him off the ball so we can get him, on the move a little bit more in space where the defenses aren't quite as loaded up against him when he has the ball in his hands. But at the end of the day, you're still trying to figure out ways to get him back to the ball, and you want to do that because he draws so much gravity that also opens up things for other guys as well.
I'm wondering, I mean, when a player commands that much attention, there's only so many things in the coaching handbook, right? That you can do. It's not like there's 50 different options. Hey, let's do this or let's try it. There's not that many things to try, is there?
I mean, there's some ways to get creative. I think the biggest thing is, utilizing them in all assets of aspects of, maybe it's not just bringing him off a screen. Maybe he's the screener, because
Okay.
they're so worried about him as an offensive player that now if he's a screener, you just flip the script a little bit. Instead of people screening for him, you have him screen for others. Maybe they're not as willing to help on a back screen or some of those type of things. So maybe we can get an easy one, because of him being on the floor and utilizing him in that way.
Can't post him up though, right? I mean,
You can post him up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's decent down there. And again, it comes down to, what are you going to get out of it? If it's him scoring, are they going to come double? What opportunities are there then that you're creating for everybody else? And are those the ones you want?
thank you, Coach.
I think that's all the questions we have for today. Thanks to everybody for joining.